When we say the word sexual, people tense. Their breath catches. Their mind leaps to the body. But what if I told you that sexual energy is not about the body first? It's about aliveness. It's about your connection to creation itself. It is the current of the universe moving through you, waiting to be witnessed, not controlled. Let the silence breathe. Then lean in. Tonight, I'm not going to talk to you about sex. I'm going to talk to you about the power that births worlds and what happens when a woman remembers she carries it. So tonight, I invite you to remember, not to perform, not to seduce, but to remember. The pulse between your hips is the same pulse that spins galaxies. Your pleasure is not a sin, it is a compass. Your body is not a battlefield. It is a temple where spirit becomes matter. When a woman owns her sexual energy, she doesn't just awaken. She awakens everything she touches. The world does not need more good girls. The world needs more women who are fully alive. So tonight, I invite you to remember, not to perform, not to seduce, but to remember. The pulse between your hips is the same pulse that spins galaxies. Your pleasure is not a sin. It is a compass. Your body is not a battlefield. It is a temple where spirit becomes matter. When a woman owns her sexual energy, she doesn't just awaken. She awakens everything she touches. When I say that sexual energy is life force energy, I'm not speaking in metaphor. I mean it literally. It is the same current that moves through everything that is alive. The pulse that keeps the ocean breathing. The rhythm that makes flowers open to the sun, the quiet hum that lives beneath your skin. It is not something you have to create. It's something you already are. It's there when you wake up in the morning and feel that small spark that says, "Today could be beautiful." It's there when you laugh so hard that your body shakes. It's there when you get an idea that feels electric, like it came from somewhere beyond you. That is sexual energy. It is life saying yes through you. But most people have forgotten what this energy feels like. We've been taught to associate the word sexual with something physical, something private, something that can be judged or measured. We've been told to put it in a box, to keep it under control, to only let it out in moments that are labeled appropriate. And so we disconnect from it. We stop noticing the fire that's always flowing beneath the surface of ordinary life. Think about a time when you were completely immersed in something you love, maybe painting, dancing, writing, cooking, building something with your hands. Hours disappear. You don't have to force yourself to focus, you just are. There's a fullness that moves through you, an effortless energy that guides your body and mind in harmony. That is sexual energy. It's not about lust. It's about life. It's the current of creativity that doesn't need to be directed. It just wants to move. When this energy flows freely, people can feel it even when you don't speak. They feel it in the way you move through a room, in the way you look into their eyes without flinching, in the way you smile as if you know something the world forgot. That kind of energy doesn't belong to youth or beauty. It belongs to presence. A woman in her 60s who has made peace with her body and her desires can be more magnetic than a 20-year-old who hasn't yet learned to live from her center. Because this energy isn't about appearance. It's about connection. Imagine a river. When it's allowed to flow, it nourishes everything around it. Trees grow, birds drink, flowers bloom. But when it's dammed or diverted, the water stagnates. It loses its clarity, and what was once a source of life becomes heavy and still. The same happens inside you. When you suppress your sexual energy, your creativity dims. You lose your sense of wonder. The colors of the world start to fade. You wake up and feel tired, not because your body lacks rest, but because your spirit is thirsty for movement, for expression, for touch, not necessarily physical touch, but the touch of life itself. Look at children. They are pure life force in motion. They run, they laugh, they cry, they sing. Their bodies haven't yet learned to hold back. That innocence is sexual energy in its purest form. Unashamed, unfiltered, curious, alive. As we grow older, we're told to calm down, to sit still, to stop being too much. Slowly, we start to believe that our aliveness is inconvenient. We tighten, not only in our bodies but in our souls. We trade freedom for approval. But sexual energy doesn't disappear just because we ignore it. It waits. It hides beneath your routines, beneath the layers of should and must and can't. It waits for a breath deep enough, a moment quiet enough for you to remember what it feels like to be alive again. Sometimes that remembering happens when you fall in love, or when you stand before something breathtaking. A sunset, a mountain, the sound of the sea. In that instant, you feel something awaken inside you, something ancient and familiar. That's not new energy. That's the energy you've always had, returning home. To live in connection with your sexual energy is to live in partnership with your soul. It means listening to what excites you and daring to follow it. It means letting your curiosity guide you without shame. It means embracing pleasure in all its forms. The pleasure of good food, of meaningful conversation, of a warm breeze on your skin, of creating something beautiful. Pleasure is not frivolous. It is sacred. It is the language through which life communicates with you, saying, "This is what makes you more alive. Do more of this." You see it in people who have come alive to their purpose. The artist who paints from her gut, the teacher who speaks from his heart, the healer whose hands seem to hum with warmth. They are all channels of sexual energy. Their work feels alive because they are alive. That is the secret of magnetism. It's not something you can fake or earn, it's something you remember. And you can begin to remember by simply noticing. Notice what gives you energy instead of draining it. Notice what makes you breathe deeper. Notice what your body says yes to. When you follow those threads, you reconnect to the current of life moving through you. That current will guide you toward what nourishes your spirit. There will be moments when this feels terrifying, because to live fully is to let go of control. But control is the opposite of life. A flower does not control its blooming. A river does not control its flow. And you, too, were never meant to live clenched. You were meant to live as the expression of life itself, pulsing, radiant, open. Sexual energy is not a tool to be used. It is a truth to be honored. It is the reminder that you are not separate from creation. You are creation. Every time you allow yourself to feel deeply, to love fiercely, to express boldly, you participate in that divine process. Life doesn't happen to you, it moves through you. So the next time you feel that subtle spark, the flutter of inspiration, the warmth in your chest, the impulse to dance, to laugh, to create, don't ignore it. That is life knocking on the door of your awareness, asking to come in. Open the door. Let it move through you. Let yourself be alive enough to feel. Because that, more than anything, is what sexual energy really means. From the moment a woman is born, the world begins whispering to her. The whispers are soft at first, so soft that she barely notices them. Be good. Be nice. Don't draw too much attention. Cross your legs. Don't speak so loudly. And somewhere between learning to walk and learning to please, she begins to shrink. She learns that her light makes others uncomfortable. She learns that her laughter can be too much. She learns that her body, her curves, her voice, her power, all of it can be dangerous. Not dangerous to her, but dangerous to the system that prefers women small, compliant, and easy to predict. It's not that society hates powerful women. It's that it fears what it cannot control. When a woman stands tall in her truth, When she looks the world in the eye without apology, she becomes unpredictable. She cannot be bought, tamed, or silenced. And that kind of freedom terrifies people who build their safety around control. So instead of teaching women how to channel their power, society teaches them how to hide it. Think about how early it begins. A little girl raises her hand in class, excited to answer, and the teacher says, "Let someone else have a turn." She learns that her enthusiasm can be too much. She dances freely in the living room until someone tells her to cover up or act like a lady. She begins to associate her joy with shame. By the time she grows older, she's mastered the art of making herself smaller, not because she wants to, but because she's been rewarded for it. Approval becomes the prize for invisibility. This fear of feminine power has been passed down for generations like a silent inheritance. Our grandmothers and mothers carried it in their bones. The fear of being called wild, improper, unworthy. They were told that desire was dangerous, that independence was arrogance, that sensitivity was weakness. And yet, deep inside, every woman carries the memory of something older than fear. A memory of the time when women were seen as sacred, when their wisdom guided communities, when their bodies were not objects but temples. That memory still lives in you. You can feel it in moments when you stand in front of a mirror and, for a fleeting second, see your true reflection before the world's judgments rush back in. You can feel it when you walk into a room and everyone turns, sensing something powerful, even if you haven't said a word. You can feel it when your intuition whispers, "You already know the answer," and your mind tries to talk you out of it. Society fears this kind of knowing. It prefers a woman who doubts herself, because a woman who doubts herself can be directed. When she's disconnected from her inner fire, she becomes easier to mold, easier to sell to, easier to silence. That is why so many women are praised for being selfless, because it means they've learned to put everyone else's needs above their own. But selflessness, when it comes from fear, is not virtue. It is erasure. You see this pattern everywhere. In the workplace, a woman who asserts herself is called aggressive, while a man doing the same is confident. A woman who sets boundaries is cold. A woman who embraces her sensuality is inappropriate. The message is constant. Tone it down. Be likable. Don't make waves. And yet, every great wave that has ever reshaped history was made by a woman who refused to stay still. When a woman starts reclaiming her power, it can be uncomfortable, not only for others, but for herself. She feels the old conditioning rise up inside her: guilt, shame, fear of rejection. She wonders if she's being selfish for saying no, if she's being difficult for demanding respect, if she's being vain for loving her body. But these are not signs that she's wrong. These are signs that she's breaking a centuries-old spell. Think of it like this: a wildflower growing through concrete doesn't apologize for breaking the pavement. It just keeps reaching for the sun. That's what happens when a woman begins to remember who she is. The old layers, the good girl, the pleaser, the caretaker, begin to crack, and through those cracks, something luminous begins to bloom. You can see this awakening everywhere today. Women are writing their stories, speaking their truth, building businesses, leading movements, creating art that shakes the world awake. They are no longer waiting for permission to exist. They are no longer asking to be seen. They are seeing themselves. And yet, this awakening doesn't mean the fear disappears overnight. It means they move forward with the fear, refusing to let it dictate the shape of their lives. It's not about becoming louder or harder. True feminine power is not domination. It's embodiment. It's a quiet knowing that says, "I belong here." It's the calm strength of a woman who doesn't need to prove herself because she remembers her worth is inherent. When a woman stands in that kind of energy, she becomes magnetic. People don't understand why they're drawn to her, they just feel her presence. She's not performing, she's being. So how do you begin to reclaim that power in your own life? You start by noticing where you still apologize for existing. Notice when you shrink to make someone else comfortable. Notice the moments you silence your intuition because you fear being wrong. Notice the times you hide your excitement, your anger, your truth. Awareness is the first act of rebellion. Then, slowly, you begin to choose differently. You speak even when your voice trembles. You take up space even when it feels foreign. You let yourself feel pleasure without guilt. You allow your presence to be felt, not because you need to prove your worth, but because you finally understand that your worth was never in question. The truth is, society never truly had the power to define you. It only taught you to forget. The moment you remember, you step outside the system that tried to contain you. And when one woman remembers, others do too. That is how change happens. Not through revolution alone, but through remembrance. A woman who is no longer afraid of her power is a force of nature. She doesn't need permission to rise. She simply rises. And when she does, the world cannot help but rise with her. How a woman relates to her sexual energy is a mirror reflecting how deeply she loves herself. You can tell everything about someone's relationship with themselves by the way they relate to their own desire, their own pleasure, their own body. When you are at war with your sensuality, you are usually at war with your worth. When you honor it, you begin to see that your sexual energy isn't something separate from you. It is you. It's your pulse, your intuition, your ability to receive love and give it freely. Most of us were never taught to love ourselves in a real way. We were taught to fix ourselves, to improve, to perform. We were taught to measure our value by how others respond to us, by compliments, approval, attention, validation. So when it comes to our sexual energy, many of us have learned to outsource it too. We wait for someone else to awaken it, to make us feel desirable, to remind us that we're beautiful. But true self, love begins when you no longer wait for permission to feel alive. It begins when you realize that your own touch, your own breath, your own presence can be enough. When you start to fall in love with yourself, something shifts at a very physical level. Your posture changes. You walk differently. You look at yourself in the mirror, and instead of searching for flaws, you start to notice light. The curve of your shoulder, the warmth in your eyes, the way your skin carries the memory of every place you've ever been touched by life. You start to feel grateful for the body that carries you through the world. That gratitude itself is sensuality. It is your sexual energy saying, "Thank you for seeing me." Think about it this way: your body listens to the way you speak about it. Every time you call yourself ugly or unworthy, your cells remember. Every time you look at your reflection with disgust, your energy contracts. But when you stand before the mirror and whisper, "I am learning to love you," your body softens. It opens. It starts to trust you again. That opening is sacred. It's where self-love and sexual energy meet. You can experience this in the simplest daily moments. When you take a deep breath and let yourself enjoy the scent of your morning coffee, that's sensuality. When you wrap yourself in soft fabric that feels good against your skin, that's an act of self-love. When you take a slow walk and notice how the wind plays with your hair, that's your body remembering it's alive. These moments are small, but they matter. They are the threads that weave you back into connection with your own life force. Many people think sexual energy only exists in moments of intimacy with another person. But that's a limited view. Sexual energy is your creative fire. It's what makes you write, paint, dream, build, nurture, heal. When you love yourself, you stop censoring that energy. You allow it to flow into every corner of your life. You might find yourself decorating your space in colors that feel alive, cooking meals that awaken your senses, or speaking your truth with more confidence. Self-love makes your energy magnetic. You no longer chase connection, you become connection. And when you do share your energy with someone else, it no longer comes from emptiness. It comes from fullness. You stop seeking validation and start seeking resonance. You stop asking, do they want me? And start asking, does my soul feel seen here? That shift is the difference between performing and being. It's the difference between using sex to fill a void and letting intimacy become an extension of your self-love. Imagine two people meeting not from need, but from wholeness. Each one carries their own light, their own grounded sense of self. When they touch, it's not to complete each other. It's to celebrate the energy that already overflows from within them. That kind of connection is sacred. It's healing. It becomes less about taking and more about sharing, less about proving and more about remembering. But before that can happen, a woman must fall in love with her own energy. That means facing the parts of herself she has hidden, her desires, her emotions, her softness, her fire. It means forgiving herself for the times she gave her energy away to people who couldn't meet it. It means releasing the belief that she needs to earn love by being perfect. Self-love is not a destination. It's a daily choice to return to yourself. You can begin by listening to your body. Notice how it speaks to you through sensation. The tightness in your chest when you say yes but mean no. The warmth in your belly when you're doing something aligned. The spark in your heart when you express yourself honestly. Your body is always telling you what love feels like and what fear feels like. Self-love is learning to listen. There's a reason why people who truly love themselves seem to glow. It's not makeup or youth. It's energy. It's alignment. They've stopped fighting against who they are. They've stopped apologizing for existing. When you reach that state, your sexual energy doesn't just belong to moments of pleasure. It becomes the way you move through the world. You write emails with passion. You cook with love. You speak with warmth. You exist as art. True self-love is the most seductive energy in the universe because it's real. It's not about arrogance or performance. It's a quiet, steady radiance that says, I am enough, just as I am. And when you believe that, your energy starts to shift everything around you. People feel safer around you because your presence carries acceptance. Opportunities open because your vibration says, I'm ready. Life starts to meet you at the level of your own love. When you love yourself deeply, you no longer abandon yourself for anyone or anything. You stop betraying your intuition just to be chosen. You stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. And that, right there, is how self-love becomes the most powerful expression of sexual energy. It's the reclamation of your right to be whole, to be radiant, to be fully, unapologetically alive. Your sexual energy mirrors your self-love because both come from the same truth, that you are already complete. You are not waiting to be awakened by anyone. You are the awakening itself. And when you live from that knowing, every breath becomes an act of devotion to yourself, every choice becomes an act of love, and every moment becomes an opportunity to remember that you are life, vibrant, sensual, infinite. Your sexual energy was never meant to be silenced. It was meant to be expressed, to move, to breathe, to dance through you like a current of light. When you try to suppress it, it doesn't disappear. It just changes form. It turns into anxiety, frustration, fatigue, or a sense of emptiness that no amount of success or validation can fill. Because energy, by nature, wants to move. It wants to flow. And when you allow that movement consciously, your life begins to glow from the inside out. Suppression happens in subtle ways. It's not always the loud, don't, from society. Sometimes it's the quiet voice inside you that says, you're too emotional, too intense, too sensitive. It's the moment you stop yourself from laughing too loudly at a joke because you don't want to be noticed. It's the way you hold your body smaller on the subway, or the way you hesitate before wearing the dress that makes you feel beautiful because you fear judgment. Suppression is the invisible cage built from 1,000 small moments where you choose comfort over authenticity. Expression, on the other hand, is liberation. It doesn't mean being provocative or reckless. It means being honest with yourself, with your body, with your emotions. Expression is when you allow your truth to take form in the physical world. It's when you sing even if your voice shakes. It's when you dance in your kitchen because the music moves something ancient inside you. It's when you cry without apology, when you laugh without restraint, when you say, I love you, before fear tells you not to. Think of a child again. How freely they express. When they're happy, their whole body shows it. When they're sad, they cry openly. When they're curious, they ask questions without shame. That's what life force looks like in motion. But as we grow, we start to believe expression makes us vulnerable. We begin to equate openness with danger, and so we lock ourselves up from the inside. We smile when we want to scream. We stay silent when something burns in our throat. We keep ourselves composed. Forgetting that composure without connection is just another word for numbness. You can feel the difference between suppression and expression in your body. Suppression feels tight. Your chest constricts. Your stomach knots. Your breath shortens. Expression feels expansive. Your shoulders drop. Your heart opens. Your breath deepens. The more you allow yourself to express, the more your energy begins to circulate again. Life starts to feel lighter, easier, more colorful. Take something as simple as movement. Have you ever noticed how dancing can shift your mood faster than any motivational quote ever could? When you move your body freely, you shake loose everything that has been stuck. Not just tension in your muscles, but emotional weight in your soul. You don't have to be a dancer. You just have to let your body lead for a while instead of your mind. Even 10 minutes of moving to music you love can feel like a reset button for your spirit. That's sexual energy being expressed, not in a sexual act, but in the pure act of being alive. Or think about creativity. When you paint, write, garden, sing, cook, build, you are channeling that same current. The creative impulse and the sexual impulse are two faces of the same energy. Both want to create beauty, connection, and life. When you deny yourself creative outlets because you're too busy or not talented enough, that energy builds up inside, restless and impatient. But when you let yourself create without judgment, you give your energy permission to breathe. You remind yourself that expression is not about perfection, it's about presence. Expression also means telling the truth about what you feel. How often do we pretend we're fine when we're not? We put on smiles because it feels safer than honesty. But every time you swallow your truth, you push your energy inward, compressing it. The result is often exhaustion or resentment, two clear signs of unexpressed life force. On the other hand, when you speak your truth, even if it's uncomfortable, you reclaim a piece of your power. You show your body and soul that you can be trusted with authenticity. There's a reason why so many people feel more alive when they travel, dance, or fall in love. Those experiences break routine. They invite expression. They remind us that life is not meant to be managed. It's meant to be lived. You can cultivate that same feeling every day by simply asking yourself, What part of me wants to be expressed right now? Maybe it's a part that wants to rest. Maybe it's a part that wants to scream. Maybe it's a part that wants to create something new. Listening to that question each day is how you turn suppression into self-awareness. You might have moments when expression feels risky. Vulnerability always does. But the risk of being fully seen is far less painful than the slow ache of hiding your truth. Suppression may keep you safe, but it will never let you feel free. Expression, even when messy or imperfect, is what brings you back to yourself. The truth is, the universe doesn't respond to perfection. It responds to authenticity. When you live in alignment with your inner energy, opportunities, people, and experiences start to align with that vibration. You become magnetic because you're real. People feel drawn to you not for what you say, but for the aliveness they feel in your presence. Expression is not about performing for others. It's about communion with yourself. It's the daily act of saying, I will not abandon my truth today. It's the courage to let your inner landscape be visible through your words, actions, and art. So let yourself cry when something hurts. Let yourself celebrate when something moves you. Let yourself dance, write, sing, love, breathe. Don't wait for permission. The more you express, the lighter you become. The lighter you become, the more life can flow through you. And when life flows through you, you remember who you are. Not a collection of rules and expectations, but a living, breathing expression of creation itself. Your sexual energy, your life force, is asking for movement, not mastery. It doesn't want to be perfect, it just wants to be free. Every time you honor that freedom, even in small ways, you return to the rhythm of the universe. You stop surviving and start living. Because in the end, to express is to exist, and existence, when fully embraced, is the most beautiful act of love there is. True sexual energy is not just about attraction between two people. It's the sacred dance that happens within you. Inside every woman and every man, there are two forces, the feminine and the masculine, constantly longing to meet, to balance, to merge in harmony. Most of our lives, we experience them as opposites in conflict, pulling us in different directions. But when we learn to bring them into union, something extraordinary happens. We stop searching for completion in others, and we begin to experience it within ourselves. That inner union is what makes a human being whole, radiant, and magnetic. The feminine within you is the part that feels, receives, surrenders, nurtures, and flows like water. It's your intuition, your sensuality, your capacity to love without needing to understand. It's the soft voice that whispers, trust. The masculine within you is the part that acts, decides, protects, and creates structure. It's your focus, your direction, your drive to build and manifest. When these two energies are out of balance, life feels fragmented. When they meet in harmony, life begins to feel like poetry. Most people spend their lives chasing externally what they haven't yet united internally. The woman who overgives and loses herself in love is searching for her own inner masculine. The strength that sets boundaries and protects her sensitivity. The man who dominates and controls others is searching for his own inner feminine. The softness that allows him to feel safe in vulnerability. We project our inner imbalance onto relationships, hoping someone else will complete the missing half. But no one can. That longing is a call to reunite the two halves of yourself. You can see this dynamic in daily life. Think of a woman who works tirelessly, always doing, achieving, proving, planning. She lives in her masculine energy, structure without softness. Her to-do list is full, but her heart is empty. She may feel powerful, but underneath, she's exhausted. What she craves is her feminine, permission to rest, to receive, to feel without needing to justify it. On the other hand, imagine someone who lives entirely in the feminine, full of dreams, feelings, creativity, and intuition, but without the structure or discipline to bring them into the world. Her ideas float like clouds, never grounded into form. She craves her inner masculine, the energy that says, "Let's make this real." When you bring these two together, your life becomes a beautiful rhythm of creation and rest, doing and being, strength and softness. The masculine gives the feminine a container to express safely. The feminine gives the masculine purpose and depth. Together, they create harmony, just as the sky holds the moon, just as the ocean meets the shore. You can begin to feel this balance in small, daily moments. When you wake up and choose to meditate or take a deep breath before rushing into the day, that's your inner masculine holding space for your feminine to feel grounded. When you allow yourself to cry instead of suppressing emotion, that's your inner feminine teaching your masculine that vulnerability is not weakness. When you make a bold decision guided by intuition, that's your inner lovers working in perfect rhythm. Intuition, feminine, inspiring action, masculine. The world teaches women to abandon their feminine. We are told to be strong, independent, productive, and ambitious, all qualities of the masculine. Yet, when we suppress our feminine, we lose our magic. We lose our ability to receive life, to be intuitive, to nurture our own soul. And the tragedy is that many women believe they have to choose softness or strength, emotion or reason, heart or logic. But sacred polarity is not about choosing one over the other. It's about realizing that real power is born when both energies coexist. The same is true for men. The old world told men to suppress their emotions, to always lead, never feel, never cry. But when a man denies his feminine, he cuts himself off from empathy, from creativity, from the ability to connect. When he begins to heal that part, when he allows himself to listen, to feel, to love openly, he becomes whole. That is not weakness, that is evolution. When both energies live in harmony inside you, you stop trying to find completion in relationships. You no longer need someone to fix or save you. You start attracting partners who reflect your wholeness rather than your wounds. Relationships shift from dependency to sacred partnership. Two complete beings choosing to walk together, not out of need, but out of overflow. There's a beautiful metaphor for this in nature. The sun and the moon are constantly dancing. The sun representing the masculine, radiating light and clarity. The moon representing the feminine, glowing softly, reflecting light, guiding tides. They don't compete. They complete the cycle of day and night. The world needs both, just as you do. Your feminine brings the moonlight. Your masculine brings the sun. Life becomes balance when you allow both to rise within you. You can begin to practice this union in simple ways. When you create structure for your creativity, a morning ritual, a daily journal practice, a sacred routine, your masculine energy gives your feminine a space to bloom. When you nurture yourself with beauty, with music, with silence, you're allowing your feminine to refill the well from which your masculine will act. When both are honored, you stop swinging between burnout and stagnation, between chaos and control. You move from survival into creation. This inner marriage changes everything. Your confidence grows not because you've become harder, but because you've become balanced. You're no longer chasing validation. You're living from alignment. You trust yourself because the part of you that feels and the part of you that acts are finally on the same side. You can listen deeply and respond clearly. You can love fiercely and still walk away from what dishonors you. You can lead with power and still remain soft. When this sacred polarity awakens inside you, your sexual energy begins to move differently. It stops searching outward for something missing and begins circulating within you like an endless current of light. You feel more alive, more grounded, more connected. You become your own beloved, the lover and the loved, the giver and the receiver, the sun and the moon. And when you reach that place, you no longer fear love because you understand that love is not something that can be taken or lost. It lives within you as the eternal dance of your feminine and masculine energies. Every breath becomes a union of opposites, every heartbeat a reminder that you are already whole. That is sacred polarity, not a battle of forces, but a marriage of souls within one body. When you embody that harmony, you become what the world truly needs. A being who knows how to create, how to rest, how to lead, how to love. You become balance in human form. Reclaiming your sexual energy is not about learning how to seduce or attract. It's about remembering that this energy is the purest creative force in existence. It's the same energy that births galaxies, grows trees, and creates human life. It's the energy that paints, writes, heals dreams, and brings ideas into reality. Most people use only fragments of this power because they've been taught to associate sexual energy solely with physical pleasure or shame. But when you begin to approach it consciously, you realize it's the source of your vitality, your creativity, and your ability to manifest your deepest desires. Your sexual energy is your life energy, and it wants to create. Every time you feel passion for a person, for a project, for a dream, that is the same current trying to express itself. But what happens for most of us is that we either suppress it out of fear, or discharge it unconsciously without direction. The art of reclaiming sexual energy is learning to channel it, to hold it, feel it, and direct it toward creation rather than escape. Think about it. When you're deeply inspired, your whole body feels alive. There's a tingling in your chest, warmth in your belly, a kind of ecstatic focus that makes time disappear. That's sexual energy in motion. It's not limited to the bedroom. It's the energy behind every act of creation. When a musician writes a song that moves hearts, when an artist loses themselves in painting, when an entrepreneur births a new idea into the world, they're all using this same sacred current. The difference is that they're doing it consciously. To reclaim your sexual energy, you must first begin to feel it again, without labeling it as good or bad. Most people live disconnected from their bodies, lost in their heads, carrying stories of shame and guilt around desire. But your body is not something to be conquered. It is something to be communed with. Desire is not something to be feared. It's a compass guiding you toward what makes you feel most alive. When you stop judging your sensuality and start listening to it, it begins to show you where your creative life wants to go. You can practice this in small ways. Imagine you have an idea that excites you, maybe a business, a creative project, a dream you've kept hidden. Instead of immediately jumping into action or dismissing it with doubt, pause. Feel the energy that idea brings into your body. Maybe it feels like warmth in your stomach or a spark in your heart. That's life force stirring. If you breathe into it, nurture it, visualize it, you begin to circulate that energy instead of wasting it. Over time, it gathers momentum, transforming into inspiration, clarity, and action. This is conscious creation, using sexual energy not for momentary satisfaction, but for manifestation. When people misuse or repress sexual energy, they often experience burnout, anxiety, or creative blocks. That's because the energy has nowhere to go. It's like a river dammed at both ends, stagnant, frustrated, and heavy. But when you open the flow consciously, it becomes fuel for everything you do. You start to notice your mind becoming clearer, your emotions more balanced, your body more alive. The world starts responding differently to you because your vibration changes. You begin to radiate presence, magnetism, and grounded confidence. It's not about denying the physical expression of sexuality. It's about transforming it. When you make love consciously, whether with another person or with life itself, you are merging energies with awareness. It's not about seeking release, it's about awakening connection. Every breath, every touch becomes a prayer of creation. You start to experience sexuality not as something separate from spirituality, but as the bridge between heaven and earth, body and soul. Look at nature. The entire universe operates through cycles of creation, expression, rest, and renewal. The seed carries the energy of potential, the soil nourishes it, the sun activates it, and life blooms. The same principle lives within you. Your sexual energy is the seed, pure potential. Your awareness is the sunlight, direction and purpose. When you bring them together with intention, you become a conscious creator. You don't chase opportunities, you attract them, because you are vibrating with the frequency of creation itself. Even in daily life, this energy can be reclaimed in simple ways through dance, deep breathing, mindful movement, creativity, and honest emotional expression. When you move your hips, when you breathe into your lower belly, when you sing or paint or write from the heart, you are awakening your sexual energy and giving it a higher purpose. You are saying to life, "Sir, I am ready to co-create with you." One of the most powerful shifts happens when you realize that pleasure is sacred, not sinful. Pleasure is how life communicates joy, how your body says yes to existence. When you embrace pleasure, not as indulgence, but as reverence, you stop rejecting the very language of creation. A woman who allows herself to feel, to enjoy, to create, to rest in her own sensuality, becomes a force of nature. She walks through the world radiant, because her energy is no longer leaking through shame or repression. It is contained, conscious, and directed. This is what it means to reclaim your sexual energy, to hold it as sacred fire, not to burn uncontrollably, but to warm, illuminate, and create. When you cultivate that energy within yourself, you begin to notice that everything you touch changes. Your conversations deepen, your relationships become more authentic, your work becomes infused with soul. You start attracting experiences that reflect your inner wholeness because you are creating from fullness, not from lack. Every great creator, mystic, and visionary has understood this truth: creation is born from desire, not lustful craving, but the soul's desire to express itself. When you stop being afraid of your own energy, you unlock a portal to infinite possibilities. You become the artist of your life. So take back what was always yours. Let your body be your temple, and your desire be your guide. Don't just survive life, make love to it. Every breath, every heartbeat, every choice can become a sacred act of creation when your energy is conscious. That is what reclaiming your sexual energy truly means. Remembering that you are not separate from creation itself. You are creation, awakening to its own power. And when you live from that truth, your very existence becomes art.